The air hung heavy with the scent of lavender and old fabric. Sunlight streamed through the single window, illuminating dust motes dancing in the golden rays. Clara hummed softly to herself, her needle flashing in and out of the rich velvet she embroidered. Her workshop, nestled on a cobblestone street, was a haven of creativity.
Outside, the quaint town bustled with life, nestled within a valley, surrounded by towering mountains. The rhythmic clang of the blacksmith's hammer and the cheerful chatter of gossiping neighbors drifted through the open window. It was a scene of ordinary tranquility, a stark contrast to the extraordinary secret Clara was about to unravel.
Clara paused her work, her fingers aching slightly. She glanced at the clock on the wall, its pendulum swinging with reassuring regularity. Time, she mused, was a constant companion, marking the rhythm of their lives. Little did she know, time itself was about to become her plaything, a dangerous and alluring force that would test her very being. A sharp rap on the door startled Clara from her thoughts. She rose from her chair, smoothing down her apron. Strange. No one usually visited her at this hour.
She opened the door to find a small, ornately carved wooden box resting on her doorstep. It was crafted from dark, polished wood, its surface cool and smooth to the touch. There was no note, no indication of who had left it. A shiver ran down Clara's spine. Curiosity warred with apprehension.
Hesitantly, Clara lifted the lid. Inside, nestled on a bed of crimson velvet, lay a spool of thread unlike any she had ever seen. It shimmered with an otherworldly luminescence, a single unbroken strand of spun gold. As she reached out to touch it, a jolt of energy surged through her, leaving a tingling sensation in her fingertips. The thread seemed to pulse with an inner light, whispering promises of unimaginable power. Days turned into nights as Clara became consumed by the golden thread. Its allure was intoxicating. Driven by an insatiable curiosity, she began to experiment, weaving small, insignificant moments from her past.
A forgotten lullaby her mother used to sing. The sweet taste of her grandmother's plum cake. The thread responded to her will, weaving itself into existence with an ethereal glow. Each stitch brought forth a rush of forgotten emotions, bittersweet memories resurrected from the depths of time.
Emboldened by her success, Clara dared to weave something more substantial. She stitched a memory of her younger self, laughing carefree as she chased butterflies in a field of wildflowers. As the final stitch fell into place, a shimmering portal materialized before her, a swirling vortex of colors and light. With a mix of trepidation and excitement, Clara stepped through the portal, finding herself transported back to that very meadow, her youthful laughter echoing in her ears. It was exhilarating, it was terrifying. Clara's initial forays into time alteration were intoxicating, but her ambition grew with each success. Why stop at childhood memories? Why not right the wrongs of the past?
She began to weave more significant alterations, driven by a desire to ease old heartaches and rewrite past regrets. She undid arguments, prevented accidents, and resurrected lost loved ones. But with each change, the fabric of time seemed to fray a little more.
The once vibrant colors of the thread dulled, taking on a sickly, almost desperate hue. The air around her workshop grew thick and heavy, punctuated by the smell of ozone and the unsettling hum of disrupted time. Clara, blinded by her good intentions, failed to notice the subtle cracks appearing in the walls of her workshop, the way time itself seemed to stutter and skip around her.
The consequences of my actions extended far beyond the walls of my workshop.
The once peaceful town descended into chaos.
The flow of time became erratic, days repeating endlessly while others vanished without a trace. People found themselves reliving the same conversations, the same meals, trapped in a bewildering time loop. The seasons shifted with alarming unpredictability, spring snowstorms followed by sweltering summer days.
Fear and confusion gripped the townsfolk.
But no one suspected the quiet seamstress, hidden away in her workshop, desperately trying to mend the very fabric of time she had unwittingly unraveled. Panic clawed at Clara's chest. The weight of her actions pressed down on her, heavy and suffocating. She had become a prisoner of her own making, trapped in a world spiraling towards oblivion. Frantically, she searched for a way to undo the damage, to restore the delicate balance she had so carelessly disrupted.
Her eyes fell upon an ancient leather-bound book tucked away on a dusty shelf. She had dismissed it earlier, thinking it was nothing more than a collection of fairy tales. Now she clung to it as a lifeline. As she opened the brittle pages, a faint, musty scent rose from the book, whispering of forgotten times.
The words were written in a language she didn't understand, yet somehow she could comprehend their meaning. The book spoke of the Time Weaver, a solitary figure entrusted with the sacred duty of maintaining the balance of time. It warned of the dire consequences of tampering with the threads of fate, of the delicate tapestry of existence that could be so easily torn apart. The realization hit Clara like a physical blow. She was not meant to control time, to bend it to her will. She had been reckless, arrogant, blinded by her own desires. The book offered a way to restore the timeline, but it came at a terrible price. The Time Weaver had to weave one final tapestry, a tapestry of self-sacrifice. To mend the fractured timeline, Clara had to erase her own existence.
A profound sadness settled over Clara, a melancholic acceptance of her fate. She had made grave mistakes, but she could atone for them. With trembling hands, she gathered the remnants of the golden thread, its glow now faint and flickering like a dying ember. She threaded her loom one last time, her heart heavy, yet resolute. As she began to weave, she poured all her love, her regret, her hopes for a restored world into each stitch. The air crackled with energy as Clara wove the final strands of her tapestry. The loom hummed and vibrated, the golden thread emitting a blinding light that engulfed the entire workshop. The world outside seemed to shudder, time itself holding its breath as the balance was restored. With a final decisive gesture, Clara cut the thread. The world dissolved around her in a blinding flash of white.
When the light faded, the workshop stood silent and empty. The loom was still. The golden thread vanished without a trace. Outside, the town returned to its tranquil rhythm. The clocks ticked steadily, the seasons shifted in their natural order. The townsfolk went about their day, their memories hazy, their lives seamlessly restored, blissfully unaware of the sacrifice that had been made to protect them.
In the center of the town square where Clara's workshop once stood, a magnificent tapestry materialized overnight. It depicted the town in all its idyllic glory, its inhabitants frozen in moments of joy and tranquility. The tapestry was breathtakingly detailed, woven with such skill and love that it seemed to pulsate with life. No one could recall who had woven the tapestry or where it had come from. It became a cherished artifact, a symbol of their town's enduring spirit. And there, hidden in plain sight, woven into the very heart of the tapestry, was a single shimmering golden thread, a silent testament to the seamstress who had sacrificed everything to save them all. The thread, barely visible to the naked eye, seemed to pulse with a faint ethereal light, a reminder that even in the face of oblivion, love and sacrifice could weave the threads of time itself.